He's here in the final. Let's have a look as the prize cards come down here. Is there anything we are worried about? There is a Ralts and a Curlier and a TM Evolution. And then we've got one of those Petcheron promos prized for Simon. But it looks like we are ready to go. Players have hands. We have a fist bump. And the final of the Bologna Special Championships is underway. And Simon is going to start off.
Simon's starting. There's a Ralts in the active.
That's got less than 80 HP.
Is there an option? There's one. There's piece one. That perilous jungle there being able to be one of those extra poison tickers between turns.
We've already got the Brute Bonnet and we've got the tool attached to it. We need a Petcherunt in the active and that's it. Mew's got free retreat. That's an Ultra Ball. You know what Ultra Ball can get?
A Petcherunt.
Well, it can get anything, but it can also get a Petcherunt if that's the one that you want. There goes Petcherunt. So we can free retreat into the Mew. We can announce that ability. Poison comes down between turns. You add 2 damage for the Perilous Jungle. You add 5 damage counters for the Petcherunt ability. That's 8 damage counters. Ralts gets KO during Pokemon checkup by that poison. And we might only be 53 seconds in, but Simon's one game up.
That's it. Game one. Simon, you've taken it once again by knocking out the only lone basic available. You got to be feeling over the moon.
Yeah, I love the pun there, Alex. I'll give you full credit for that one. And like we said, let's not be calling... Okay, let's have a replay. The replay can be the entire game because that's how short it was. The combo is very simple. You need Brute Bonnet, but you need to have the Ancient Booster Energy Capsule attached. That allows you to poison both active Pokemon. Perilous Jungle adds 2 damage counters. Petcherunt, if active, adds 5 damage counters. That's 8 damage counters in total. Ralts has 70 HP. That is the game. That whole combo came down turn 1. That is why Simon always wants to go first here.
Absolutely, and very usually Gardevoir does want to go second, so it can use things like that Technical Machine Evolution, but we're going to see a very important decision from Riccardo here. He surely can't give Simon that opportunity once again to try and use that poison between turn, sort of tick and take an easy, simple, single prize basic Pokemon down. Like I said, Simon's had been in this position before. He's been in a final. He's come second. Riccardo's also a well-accomplished player, someone with plenty of finishes, plenty of day 2s. So they're going to be here battling it out and trying to take it down one more time. This is going into game 2 now. 72 minutes, 40 seconds on the clock.
I feel like we might have enough time to finish this one out after that short game 1. So we are seeing the prize cards start to come down here. They're not all down yet. So we're going to just see as they come down, confirming what those prize cards are for both of the players. Now, of course, Riccardo, I feel very confident will choose to go first here. Does not want a repeat of what just happened. Mew and 2 Professor's Research prized.
One Gardevoir.
Yeah.
It's kind of going to be awkward sometimes. There's only going to be working with one. Here we go. It's going to be game 2, fist bump off. Game 2 of our Masters final here in Bologna at the Special Championships. We're looking to crown our champion shortly. Riccardo is 1 game down, looking to turn the tide.
Starting with a Monkey Dory, wishing he could have started Monkey Dory in the previous game. We did the math last time, but essentially it's about a 50-50 proposition. About half the basics are in range of that poison package on turn 1, and half of them are not. But here comes Artisan. That is going to go and get one of those basic Pokemon, which looks to be a Ralts, but it's also going to give Riccardo a chance to search through his deck. And now, even though we're in game 2, since we're in the final, Alex, not everyone's watched the rest of the tournament. Remind us how this Gardevoir deck runs.
Absolutely, and it's all based around that Gardevoir EX, of course, has that fantastic Psychic Embrace ability for energy acceleration from that reservoir, from that pool of discarded Psychic Energies in the discard pile. It does deal damage, self-damage, when you do use Psychic Embrace, but that's how you ramp up the damage and potential attackers of Drifloon and Screamtail, and that's when you start weaving in, depending on what you're up against on the board state, utilizing your single prizes to take massive 2 prize Pokemon knockouts.
Yeah, that is the goal. It's all about Gardevoir accelerating energy and turning the downside of the damage counters into upsides with those attackers you mentioned, Monkey Dory, and hopefully having enough time to set up. Of course, we saw from Simon in the previous round, you can go with a poison package or you can go aggressive with that Roaring Moon. So don't think going second is a huge disadvantage. We could see early aggressive Roaring Moon. We'll worry about that on Simon's turn. For Riccardo here, we've got a Routes, we've got a Monkey Door in the active. You don't really want to leave one Routes only, because Simon plays Pokemon Catcher, and all it takes is one head to drag it up, KO that lone Rouse, and then you are in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, we've been in this position before, so it's on Riccardo just to try and stabilize that board a little bit before he is able to maybe use some supporters on the next turn. It's just a pass over, one Routes there, did have Ultra Ball, was thinking about it. Simon, what have you top decked there? Just whilst we kind of check what is available from that Artisan. Of course, Simon will be checking for his prizes as well. Ross, your turn, Roaring Moon.
So Roaring Moon, this is actually kind of like 2 decks in one at this stage. We've got the traditional Roaring Moon, which can do either 220 damage for free energy or an automatic one-hit KO at the cost of 200 damage to yourself. This is a big Pokemon that hits hard and takes big KOs. Traditionally struggled a little bit in the early game or against smaller Pokemon, and that's where the Poison package comes in. We saw that in full display in Game 1. Poisoning with Brute Bonnet, using things like Perilous Jungle and that Petulant card to add poison to it and take those easy prizes in the early game before you transition into that Roaring Moon to take big prizes. That is what Simon's doing, and he has done a masterful job through this tournament of knowing when to go Poison package and when to go hard with Roaring Moon. So we have our Petulant come down, and now we've just got an Ultra Ball. We are dropping ourselves a Brute Bonnet there, and an Energy to go for a Squawkabilly. And here's the thing, we're going to see a lot of cards being drawn. Simon obviously has a supporter still to use, and Squawkabilly, Squawk and Seize lets you discard your hand and draw 6. We are nowhere near the end of Simon's turn here.
No, we've got a proper game this time, Ross, and that's something to be excited for, especially after what we saw in the top 4 matches as well. Obviously, Simon has identified that Petron as key here. Even if it isn't taking a knockout necessarily, we'll start applying a lot of pressure to that Monkey Dory if it does get into the active spot with Poison ticking as well, because then it's forcing Riccardo maybe to find a retreat, maybe then he would be able to use something like Technical Machine Evolution rather than a potential Monkey Dory and getting KO'd on the way back over to Simon. Does get the other Brute Bonnet now down on the field. Now it's just one tool away from being able to activate, of course, that Toxic Powder ability.
Well, we see an Ultra Ball coming down here, so there's going to be another Pokemon getting searched out here. He's got his choice of a bunch. We've seen that Mew is a fantastic Pokemon. It also acts as a really nice pivot. Speaking of pivot options, though, Petulant EX lets you move your Darkness Pokemon in and out of the active with ease. And you do have to poison when they go in the active, but of course, you've got that Ancient Booster Energy Capsule, so if you use it to, say, put a Roaring Moon in the active, you're immune to poison by virtue of that Pokemon tool. So you don't actually take the poison, it's just a free switch in. Pivoting options of all these poison things, they're pretty important, frankly.
Yeah, pretty important the whole way through. Of course, all of these dark Pokemon. There's the Perilous Jungle as well. He got full value out of using that Artisan, and now is going to be going and using Squawk and Seize, discarding that Pheasantipity EX. 6 fresh new cards, and of course has already played supporter for turn. That's why he's got the energy attached to the active. Hits a secret box, will be able to start pitching things away. Hits also that Pokemon Catcher, which
Absolutely
is also
huge.
pretty cool.
He wants to go after that single route. This is a huge coin flip. It is a Tails, so we don't get the routes there. That would have been a huge flip. KO this only routes on the board. Could go and get another one though with secret box. Have another bite of the apple, so to speak.
Yeah, it's one of those things where he's just got to start thinking about that resource management. We know how vital those Pokemon catchers can be in the mid to late games when you're sort of targeting those big EX Pokemon so you can start really prize racing between this matchup. But when you're applying so much pressure by removing potentially the only routes in play, I mean, it's got to look pretty tasty if you just see that 70 HP Pokemon on that bench there.
Well, we see the A-Spec secret box coming out. A-Spec, of course, you can only have one in your deck. This one says you discard 3 cards from your hand and you search for an item card, and a tool card, and a supporter card, and a stadium card. So you get to really go through a lot of things in your deck. Of course, you've already got your stadium, you've already played a supporter, but you need that tool on the Brute Bonnet, that Ancient Booster Energy Capsule, and of course, you need to get an item as well. Yes, Alex?
He's looked like he's picked up that Pokemon catcher.
I want the Pokemon catcher. And here's the thing. You won game 1. You can be a little bit more cavalier in game 2.
Cavaliering, I like it.
Especially when you know if there's a game 3, you get to go first.
Absolutely. I mean, this could completely turn the game on its head. But Riccardo, I mean, we've already seen in top 4 turn it back around from a pretty perilous position, of course, as well. But then that Pokemon catcher could really, really just impact what this board state could look like. But just going to confirm, where will he play? I mean, he's grabbed it.
He's playing it. He's playing it. Big flip here. Let's do this.
Tails!
Oh, never mind. And that's the thing. Like, if you're Riccardo, it's a huge sigh of relief. Your opponent's played 2 of their 3 Pokemon catcher for no value whatsoever.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's got that tool now going, so we're going to start poisoning the opponent here in this situation. There will be a pretty big ticker. At the very least, it's free, of course, with that Perilous Jungle currently down. There's the energy attachment also from hand to the Pecharunt. You know, kind of gives that option, you know, something we didn't really notice too much before, but that poison chain's another way just to add even more damage. But there is the movement now from the Pecharunt EX, and now it's just the poison. Of course, now with the tickers, the 1 from the normal poison, the additional 2 from Perilous Jungle, and the 5 from the Pecharunt in the active spot from Toxic Subjugation.
And in terms of numbers here, yes, Munkidori can move 3 of those damage counters off using that Adrenabrain ability, but then 8 ticking over during Pokemon Checkup will still be enough for the knockout. So Munkidori has to get out of the active here. What we'll probably see is a Darkness Energy attach, use Adrenabrain, retreat, brilliant, that's your energy attachment for the turn, and it's no longer on the board. You're still forcing a big waste of resources from your opponents. Yeah,
and this is always the tricky point here, as we do see an Ultra Ball being eyed up. I don't really see anything like a supporter card in hand, though, for Riccardo, and that could be the limiting factor here. Ultra Ball discarding a Bravery Charm and a counter catcher. Just going to look at what the options are going to be here for Riccardo. The Mew is the option that could allow him to continue drawing some cards, but maybe going down a different angle here, Ross. Kind of double checking what is available again, which cards we want to start picking up, of course. Does have one of those Curliers, I think, in hand itself. Is just picking a route for the time being.
I mean, you've really got a bit of a break last turn with both of those Pokemon catcher coming up tails. You could have lost your only routes and been a minimum 2 turns away from having a Gardevoir, and that's if you use your 1 of rare candy. It could have been a very bad position. You got away with it last turn. Let's not put the potential of that happening again. Let's get a second routes down and make sure that cannot happen again.
Yeah, I think Riccardo's just kind of second-guessing himself based on this decision here. You know, he's always checking those, what's available. Of course, that routes. I do want to just confirm what's in that hand. I mean, there's that Technical Machine Evolution, I think. There's a Relor as well. There's an Energy Attachment and a Curlier. No cards in hand, and it's going to be a Technical Machine Evolution for that routes and Curlier here. It's going to go straight up into the Gardevoir and a Curlier there. Relor's been benched just so it can, after that Munkidori goes down, Relor maybe gets promoted.
But there's no... Yeah, you're going to lose the Munkidori and give up a prize. You've not got any cards in hand. You've got no draw engine on the board. Curlier does not have refinement like it used to once upon a time. How many energy do we have in the discard? Do we know that? So there's 3 energy in the... No
Big
energy.
Zero.
No energy in the discard.
Well, 1 after the Munkidori goes down.
That's not ideal. Because you don't even have the board set up like you would. Okay, so it's a full discard pile. There's 1 energy there. That is not enough to build up an attacker right now. And Simon now has another opening. This Relor will be going down at the minimum. Worst case scenario, you are up by 2 prizes and your opponent is in full top deck mode with no attackers established.
And honestly, you'd be absolutely fine just announcing Toxic Powder and passing. Of course, you want to continue setting up your board behind it, but you know your opponent has no cards in hand. Having a Gardevoir with 0 cards and just access to 1 Psychic Energy in that, it's not quite a reservoir anymore, but it's just not going to be good enough at this point. There's Professor Sada's Vitality going, well, I'm just going to continue building up this board behind, and let's just see how Simon is going to be able to play out the rest of this turn as well.
I think Puddle might be the best we can do instead of a Reservoir here.
Raindrop, I don't know.
The raindrop of energy. We see the energy coming down here from the Professor Sada's Vitality. And a very important point, we said it before, but it needs to be reiterated. The KO here will happen because of poison. So if Riccardo were to top deck a Pheasantipity or, say, a Nespal, would not be able to use that to turn it into another free card. Pheasantipity only works if the KO happens on your opponent's turn, and Pokemon Checkup happens between turns, does not activate. So we see an Ultra Ball coming down. Blood Moon Ursaluna, not necessary right now. We are instead searching for... What's the best option here? There's
maybe
nothing
not
we
even
need
searching
this turn.
Grab nothing, just kind of thinning cards out of the hand. Of course, does still have Mew EX as an option later down the line to draw cards with that restart ability. But at the same time, you know, you've got to be thinking, I'm in a pretty good position here, Ross.
My opponent's in top deck mode, and I'm burning cards from my hand for no value just to increase my consistency a little bit. I certainly like Simon's position here quite a bit more. There's the energy switch onto Roaring Moon. Now, I don't think we're going to see an attack here. We don't need to see an attack here from Roaring Moon. We're basically just saying here, my Roaring Moon is ready. Now, if we could bring Gardevoir into the active, oh, then I like it, but no, it is just a poison with a Brute Bonnet, and then between turns, 8 damage counters will tick down, but not before we've drawn with Mew. There was an argument here of trying to get Gusting onto the Gardevoir. There will be no Gusting, so the Relor goes down. Simon goes up by 2 prizes. What is the top deck?
Technical Machine Evolution. It's just a pass back, and I do wonder, it looks like a flash of maybe a Boss's Orders there.
Oh, it is a Boss's Orders in hand. That means that Gardevoir, Alex, is not long for this game. Simon will be able, and again, the pivot's not an option. You can use Pecharunt to pivot if you need to. Oh, we're attaching, so we might just be KOing the Curlier here and going, you know what? I'm in such a good position. I don't even need to KO your Gardevoir right now.
Yeah, there's really nothing going for Riccardo's board state. We're double checking. There's still that raindrop of a Psychic Energy in the discard pile for the moment. There really isn't anything going. Riccardo needs to draw big from that next top deck. There's the Toxic Powder, Poison, and the attack there from the Pecharunt. We're going to see the knockout once again via Poison after a Poison Chain dealing some damage to put it in range for the Poison to actually take over and take the Curly route. Gardevoir in the active, 1 card to save the dream here.
What is it going to be? It is a basic, but I don't think it's going to be what, even a basic. It might be an evolution, and it looks like we might be Riccardo showing the hand, and I think we're going to see the handshake, and Simon Tschan is going to be your Bologna Special Championships champion, getting their direct invite to the Pokemon World Championships in Anaheim. Who could have thought that Roaring Moon was the play this weekend?
Absolutely incredible. Congratulations to Simon there. Our only undefeated player, I believe, throughout this tournament, taking his deck from 9th place in Utrecht to a 1st place here in Bologna, earning himself